Cole was sitting in class. He was too bored and started to play with pens. Now the history teacher asked if anyone knew what this school was 100 years ago. No one answered. Suddenly, Cole raised his hand and replied, "This used to be a place to hang people." Hearing those words, everyone in the class was scared. The teacher was very surprised and asked him where he heard it. Cole continued to describe the details at the execution site, but the teacher clearly didn't believe it. The teacher said that this place used to be the court, and looked at Cole with sarcastic eyes. Cole couldn't help but say, "You're a stuttering Stanley." The teacher was stunned. "How did you know his secret?" He slowly walked towards Cole. He covered his eyes tightly. "Stanley is stuttering, Stanley is stuttering." He kept repeating this many times. The teacher finally couldn't take it anymore, slamming his fist on the table, and telling him to shut up. Actually, he didn't lie. The reason he knew that this place used to be the execution ground is because he had witnessed people hanged to death. That's right, he is a person with rare psychic abilities. Dead people always like to find him, not only at school but also at home. Sometimes, they suddenly appear in the kitchen crying and show him their slit hands. Sometimes they go around the corridor and ask him to play with them. Moreover, they didn't seem to know that they were already dead. Cole has lived in this fear for so long. Because he was so scared, he used a red cloth to make a tent. Every time the ghost came to find him, he would hide in it, and turned on the flashlight to shine on the figurines inside to wait for the long night to pass. One day, during Darren's birthday, Cole was left out again. Cole sadly hid in a corner, then looked up at the ceiling dejectedly. At this time, a red balloon flew up. Cole curiously went upstairs when suddenly heard a voice upstairs. "I don't steal the boss's horse. Open the door. If you don't, I'll get you out." Cole is very scared, because this is not the first time hearing the ghost talk. Now at the bottom, there are two naughty boys seeing Cole. They pretended to play with Cole, and when he wasn't paying attention, he pushed him into that room. Cole shouted like crazy inside. His mother heard the scream and ran upstairs, but the door was locked, and it couldn't be opened. Cole inside screamed until he got hoarse and finally couldn't hear anymore. By the time his mother was able to hold him out, he passed out. Malcolm is a famous child psychologist. To honor his achievements, the mayor gave him a certificate of merit. He was preparing to celebrate with his wife, when a thug broke through the door, and broke into the house. Malcolm both reassured his wife, and reminded her to call the police. Who would have thought that the thug would get excited, cry and say he used to be his patient? The fear turned to amazement, but for a moment, he still couldn't remember who he is. "Don't you remember me? I've been waiting for you for 10 years. Malcolm finally remembered. This was Vincent, his patient of 10 years ago. He didn't expect him to be like this now. He wanted him to calm down, but he lost control of his mind. Malcolm wanted to reassure him and give him another chance to make up for it. But he said nothing, turned around and grabbed a gun. That patient couldn't be cured, making Malcolm feel guilty all the time. A year later, he accidentally got to know Cole. Cole seems to be like Vincent when he was a kid. They also have the same situation where their parents were divorced, and they all have emotional disorders. They are also freaks in the eyes of others. Even more strange is that in his pictures from small to large, there is a strange light. Malcolm wanted to approach Cole to treat him as compensation for Vincent. At the first time, Malcolm followed the boy to the church. Cole was sitting alone. At this moment, Malcolm noticed a scratch on the boy's hand, but Cole refused to talk and left. The second time, Malcolm came to the boy's house just in time for the boy to come home from school. For the sake of his mother's peace of mind, he tried to act normal. However, after his mother left, he came back with a sad expression. All of this was not out of sight of Malcolm. He wanted to help him, but Cole obviously doesn't trust him. He stepped back to the door step by step, and said, "I know you're a good person, but you can't help me." After saying this, Cole got bored and walked away, but Malcolm still hadn't given up. The third time, he personally took Cole to school. Cole directly told him, in the eyes of others, he was a freak with no cure. But Malcolm said, "Don't believe what they say, it's bullshit." When he heard that, Cole looked at him in surprise. He also gradually let go of his guard. Finally one night, he said to Malcolm, "I can see the souls of the dead." This is the secret deep in his heart, but Malcolm doesn't believe it. He thought the boy got severely paranoid, and that's out of his possibility to treat him. The next day, he told Cole that he was going to transfer him to another doctor. Cole heard it and cried and said, "Doctor, do you believe in my secret?" Malcolm didn't know what to say. Then Malcolm returned to the clinic. He looked through the tape recording when he talked to Vincent, but this time, he discovered a strange voice. He turned up the volume to listen. Then suddenly he heard a saying on the tape, "I don't want to die." At this moment, he suddenly understood that what Cole and Vincent said are all true. They're not crazy. It's just that they see things that other people can't see. He came to Cole again and said he already knew how to help him. Those spirits that come looking for him probably don't want to harm him but just want him to listen to them. Sure enough, on that night, the spirits came looking for him. He was afraid to run away, but this time, he remembered Dr. Malcolm's words. Even though he was scared, he walked over and pulled the red cloth, and this time the ghost is a little girl. The next day, Malcolm took him to that little girl's funeral. He heard that this little girl died of cancer, but Cole knew there is a hidden story behind it. When no one noticed, the two sneaked into the little girl's room. Suddenly, under the bed, an arm reached out and grabbed Cole's leg, startling him. It's the ghost of that girl. She pushed out a wooden box. Cole followed the girl's will, giving the wooden box to the father. Dad opened it up. Inside was a tape. He watched intently, thinking this was just a hobby of his daughter when she was alive. But the lens suddenly changed, and a woman brought food to a sick girl. When she wasn't paying attention, she sneaked poison in. He was shocked. His daughter turned out to be killed by her stepmother. In the yard, Cole gave the toy to her little sister, and said her sister always protects her. Since then, Cole is no longer afraid of ghosts, but enthusiastically helps them. He even became their friend. The relationship between him and his teachers and friends has also become more harmonious. Seeing Cole having fun with friends, Malcolm feels very happy. He understood that his mission was accomplished. When he came to say goodbye to the boy, he asked him if they would see each other again. Malcolm replied that he would see him the following day. He also fulfilled his wish, and happily returned home. During this time, he focused all his attention on Cole's affairs, so he gradually distanced himself from his wife. Even on the wedding anniversary, his wife was very cold to him. He wanted to explain, but obviously his wife didn't give him that chance, even locked the bedroom door. But when he got home, his wife was still sleeping on the sofa as usual. The TV still showed a video of their marriage ceremony, but his wife looked so heartbroken. In the dream, she muttered, "Why did you leave me?" Malcolm also replied, "I'll never leave you." When she turned, a ring fell. It was his wedding ring. What's the matter? Why isn't the ring in his hand? At this moment, a scary thought suddenly popped into his head. Malcolm finally remembered that night, he died on the spot after being hit. He is now a ghost. Only Cole, who can see ghosts, can see him. It's the reason why he stood in front of his wife but she couldn't see him. His wife has never forgotten him. She alone celebrated their wedding anniversary. Drunk alone his favorite wine. She still loves him. At the end of the movie, Malcolm said goodbye to his wife, and this time, his wife seemed to be able to hear what he said.
Good night, sweetheart.
This movie looks like a horror movie at first glance, but it's actually a family love movie.